All right, and we're recording. And good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and start with doing the recap for chapter 62. We're just going to do like a quick recap, and then we'll get into discussions, and then we'll open it up for the floor for anybody that wants to talk. If you don't want to talk, or if you're too shy, please feel free to use the chat. We'll just read it from here. But I'll go ahead and get us kicked off. All right, so the chapter begins with Hae Soo being on the phone. We see that she is trying to get one of her jobs back. Just when she thought she had escaped, she was like, nope. So we can also tell that her boss is kind of sad that they can't, bring her back, but it is what it is. So then we find out, through the next couple of panels is that, she thought she had a bit of breathing room, and then didn't think she needed the job just because she thought she was going to be able to be fine. And then we see her, looks like talking to her landlady. I don't usually go out of my way like this, just so you know, I made a lot of exceptions for you. So I'm sure the landlady's probably not, probably, kind of sad to see her go at some point. Because even she knows that the price of her apartment is probably the cheapest in the city. So here we see it says in her day-to-day life, Na Hae Soo runs on fumes, which we already kind of knew that. Her youth, once burned to ensure her survival, has now worn thin, being reduced to ash. Now that Kang Mincheol has reappeared, she can no longer stay in that house. So I guess we're finally getting our answer as to the timeline of when she's going to move out. And then we get to this panel right here, where she's thinking for his sake too. So not only is it to get away from men trash, but, she also wants to keep, Taehee safe, and just have like a, better space. And honestly, it's about time, girl. I'm just saying. So she is kind of walking, she's thinking, there are still a few things I'm unsure about, but I know for sure he's a good kid, talking about Taehee. So we see her walking down the street looking great. She's now we see that she's actively taking an interest in his life, whereas before, she did not want to really ask him a lot of questions. But now that they're, getting a little bit closer, she's feeling more comfortable with asking him, like, hey, where do you work? Whereas she would not do that before. So then we see her going to the store. We see her talking to the sales lady. They're trying to figure out, what to get. She's trying to help her pick something out for Taehee. And she's like, yeah, it's a gift for a guy. So now we see her looking kind of like shy here. And I think it's really interesting here that she says, referring to him as a guy still feels kind of weird, but I guess that's what he is. And then we get this passionate flashback. Well, technically he is a guy, is what she's saying, and now she's thinking about that. I mean, if I had a night like that, I think I'd be probably blushing too, I'm just saying. But anyways, moving on. So then we get this little tidbit, with Broseph that was hanging out at the flower shop. This guy, I'm not gonna lie, he gives me kind of some like creeper vibes. But hopefully we're probably gonna find out, what's going on with this dude. So the sales lady is talking to her. Don't worry, sweetie, you're looking at someone who's been running this shop for years. And, she's asking all of these questions about, who Na Hae Soo is trying to buy for. I'm sorry, I have a cat that is trying to climb on the keyboard. Sorry. I blame Taco. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so she's asking all these
You
questions.
can't
She's trying
blame
to.
Taco.
Well, I can, because she stepped on the keyboard. And she's being a little poop right now.
That's
Um,
funny.
but anyways, she's my little poop though. All right. So, anyways, the sales lady is asking, some questions, which that's pretty, pretty standard. So with her description, he's like super tall, super built, wears dark clothes, and this is what she's thinking of.
A
Which,
fat, short man that looks nothing like Taehee.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but okay. Then she says newlyweds have a very specific taste, huh? So then, she's like, don't worry, when it comes to picking out clothes for those types of guys, I'm basically an expert. Let's see. So then she breaks out this shirt, which I know we had a discussion a little bit about that on the Leaks channel. I personally don't think that that's that bad of a shirt. I could not really see Taeha wearing it, but I think he would look good. I think he would know how to pair it well with maybe like an all black suit. I know a lot of people were saying that this is more of like a Taehee style shirt, which I do agree. But I think the difference is that Taeha would make it look better because he knows how to dress like a man and not like a little boy. um, but anyways, um, so she's like, yeah, sure, he'd like it. And, oh, he'll definitely love it. So then she, you know, thinks about it. And she's like, I never really noticed, but it seems like this kind of look has been super trendy. And then we get this, it's not. Even clothes like this would probably suit you too. So I think even she kind of knows, that that's not really Teha's taste, but I think she just wants to get something nice for him, just to show that she cares, because I feel like with Na Hae Soo, a lot of what she does is with intention and with thought. And I feel like, despite this style, that's why I think Taeha is going to be like over the moon that she thought enough of him to like get him something. All right, so she's made her purchase and she's walking, and then we see Broseph again in the background being a creeper. And she's also thinking, oh, would he like it? So then, we cut to this dude, who is hanging out, I guess, around the university, and he's, hitting up some, students, under the cover of being some kind of agent. So gives a card and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm from this agency." And then this girl's thinking she's going to debut and he's like, "No, that's not it." Um so he shows a picture of Taeha. He's like, "Do you know this student? You probably took some classes with him. His name is Bom Taeha." "Oh, I know him." Um that super tall guy, we took the same major." "Oh, that guy is crazy handsome. There's isn't anyone who doesn't know him. Seriously, everyone knows him." So we can tell that, I mean, obviously it says here gets annoyed, but we just know automatically that, Taehee's going to be annoyed because they're talking about, his brother in a positive light. And that just annoys the crap out of me. So they're under the impression that, Taeha is probably going to be debuting as like, like an idol or an actor, you know. Um so then Taehee is like, we need to understand his past to some extent. If there are any problems with women that would ruin his image after debuting, any major flaws or any blemishes on his personality, please let me know. This is all for reference. And even they kind of pick up that there's something kind of sus about him. They're like, what's with his tone? It seems like he actually wants there to be some kind of flaw. But even if you ask, no one would know. Um, he's like, everyone knows him, but no one knows anything about him. first of all, I've never seen him hang out with any girls, and there weren't any rumors about him. But most of all, he always kept everything a secret. And we all know this about him, and we all kind of know why. He's just trying to keep a low profile, to stay out of dad's sight, just so he can do what he wants to do and then not get caught, or at least not by his dad anyway. So then we get another flashback. He's talking to his bodyguard. He's like, the bodyguard saying, "Would you like to look into it further?" And he just looks so bothered here, and so annoyed. But he says, "It's all hopeless. I should start digging around elsewhere." And I have to say that I'm kind of impressed, and I hate that I'm saying I'm impressed by Taehee. However, I can't believe this is the moment when he chooses to get off of his F-boy butt and actually does some work. So this actually genuinely surprised me. All right, Tina, thank you for popping in. So he gets the idea, which is actually a pretty good one considering it's Taehee. Let's set college aside for a moment. And then, he's like, he couldn't have acted like that in high school too. If I dig around, I'm bound to find something new. Which, that is kind of true. And I feel like this is where we see like Taehee being the wild card. I think there's something definitely going to be unexpected happening because of that dude. And now we get to the cover, with Na Hae Soo looking very seductive and, sitting in daddy's lap, not Taeju. But this is a very beautiful cover, by the way. It's very provocative, but not provocative. So I like it. All right. So anyway, moving on. So we see Na Hae Soo, walk in. She's looking at some fruit. It's really expensive. And then now she's thinking how she has to hold back, because she has to save every penny to move out as soon as possible. Honestly, it does my heart glad to see her get out of that basement. So anyways, we've noticed that she has clocked, this dude following her, which I will say that as a woman, I have been followed a few times, and it is some of the scariest shit you'll ever go through because you really don't know what the other person is doing or what they're thinking, if they're going to do you harm. You just really got to be careful. So she's thinking, no matter how much I look around, I keep getting the feeling that someone's been following me for a while. And then, we get this dude. Why is he staring at me so intently? So she keeps walking, and then she's texting Taehee, "Hey, can you come a little bit sooner?" I don't blame her because I would actually be doing the same exact thing in this situation. She's like, I need to head home first. So we see him continually to follow her, and I can tell, she's getting, more freaked out, which is a very realistic and very understandable reaction. And the further she goes, the fewer people will be around, which is a genuine concern. So she stops and she decides to confront him. And I just want to say that I am so proud of her. I am just very proud that she actually did something brave and she decided to confront him. And he's just staring at her, and then he laughs, probably trying to, probably trying to diffuse, show that he's friendly. But I mean, still, if it were me, I would be very suspect. And he's like, "I apologize if I made you uncomfortable. I didn't mean anything bad by it. I happened to see you on the street and you're just so incredibly pretty. I'm not usually the type of person to ask this kind of thing, but could I possibly ask for your number?" So she's like, okay, well, that's all it is. What a relief. It doesn't seem like he's a weird person after all. So then she tries to decline politely. I'm sorry. Please leave me alone. And then he's like, "Oh, don't be like that. I'm not really a weirdo or anything." And then this is when she gets a little freaked out, which is understandable. So this is my business card. I even work at a pretty decent company. You know it, right? It's a huge corporation. Like that makes it any better. Just give me your contact info. And she's still trying to get away from him. And then he's all like, "Oh, it's good for a man and a woman to get to know each other naturally, isn't there?" Um, and so he's really trying to mac on her, and she is just not having it. And he's like, "You're not going to answer?" And then he's like, "Well, you're just playing hard to get because I called you pretty. You don't even look that young, so why are you acting coy?" I just want to tell you how much I wanted to slap the shit out of this guy. Because I've seen guys like him before. They get really mad when you reject them and they think it's on you. So I just wish I could have punched him in the face for Na Hae Soo. But anyways, so this is where we see her, kind of get her courage up. And she says, "Normally, in a situation like this, my body would freeze up." And we all know about her past trauma. We saw that in the one scene with Kang Mincheol when she went to try to confront him about the lipstick on the collar. Where on earth did I find that courage? It was something I couldn't understand. Was it because the sound of your low voice suddenly came into my mind? Or perhaps was it because I truly believed that, faced with my baseless request, you would surely come? So then she takes her arm away and she's like, "I said no." And I was just like, "You go, girl." I was so proud of her. Listen, I am an old lady who's already been married and divorced, so compliments like that mean nothing to me. And I don't care whether you work at a good company or not. And I'm seeing someone who is much better than you. He's way younger than you, and he's way more handsome. And lo and behold, our hero shows up, looking fine AF in his suit that he's wearing properly, I might add. So then he backs her up, like literally, and then puts his arm around her, and he's like, "You heard her." And then that's where the chapter ends. So I have to say that I really love this panel right here. This is a very good picture of him. But anyways, that is the end of chapter 62. So any questions or comments? We'll open it to the floor. And if anybody wants to speak, there's a little hand on Discord. You can just hit the button and it'll show that you want to talk. So all right, so I'm just going to read something that Nettie is saying. Taehee, my most handsome boy. Yes, I agree. I really think that if there's like any material traces of Taehee, aside from the very possible medical evidence of him being hospitalized, Taehee will find it. Even though they grew up without any bond, at some point they still lived under the same roof. Ooh, that's a great point. So if Taehee doesn't know it already, he will find the apartment where Taehee lives and start to dig, and he will be coming unannounced so Lee Jae won't have time to hide things. He will find the photo booth pics, the bear, the roses, and what Study Bunny has been stressing about the sonogram. Yeah, I agree. I'll be honest, like, at first I thought Taehee was going to be just like a lazy fuckboy. And I hate to use that term, but here we are. But I really thought that he wasn't really going to do much. I will say that I feel like he waited a long time to try to like find like dirt on Taehee. But I agree. I think he's going to find something. I think it's just a matter of time. I know that me and Study Bunny and even Madam Void have all had this conversation about how, we all think that Taehee is going to be a wild card and he's going to pull some kind of BS out of left field. And we're just going to be like, WTF, what just happened? So, yeah, I think that is a very, very, very valid point, and I agree. It would not surprise me if Taehee was actually the one that found the sonogram. I did want to go back real quick and just read another comment. It's from Dari. She said earlier she stood up for herself. That's so different from the Na Hae Soo that we've seen so far. Yes, 100%. I will say that like when you're not used to sticking up for yourself, it is really hard to do something brave, and it takes a lot of courage to step out of your comfort zone. And when I read that, like that really resonated with me personally. So I know I can kind of relate to how Jesus feels. You don't want to rock the boat, but at the same time, you got to look out for yourself, and you can't take care of anyone if you can't take care of yourself. So it was really good. It was really good to see her stick up for herself. All right, so the next part. I don't think Taehee is going to find Jesus. I mean, he doesn't look like smart enough. He might get close, but maybe their father will find her soon. Yeah, I think I agree with that. But yeah, I kind of agree. I just he's kind of feel like he's doing this kind of late. If it were me, I think what I would have done was I think I would have tried to do all of this before I got to Korea. So that's just me. Let me see here.
Hello.
Hey, Study Bunny.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying not to lose my voice.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. It's all of a sudden my throat's dry. So I'm really sorry about that, guys.
No, it's okay. All right. So, on all honesty, when it comes to like Tahi and his grand plan, I thought when he was talking all of that game, when he was talking all of that game, in the previous chapter, saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna just watch and see, and look what I do," and then I'm gonna be able to find her quickly, and then he just starts giving random people Teja's picture, and I'm just like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't
Yeah,
know.
that's how that came across to me too. I
You
was
don't
like,
know.
bro, you started this way too late, man.
No. Oh my god. No. Does this look like a person that's smart to you? Even my friend is like, this man doesn't look bright. You can tell. Look at him. He has his goofy ass suit. He has his goofy ass suit. Look what he does. This is his brother. He's expecting an answer. Look at this. Does this man look bright?
But that's the thing though, like, because I know we were talking about this in chat earlier. But you can tell, like, just with the maturity level, because even with the way like Taehee wears his suits, like, I mean, he wears it like he's wearing his big brother suit because everything looks big, nothing looks tailored. It looks expensive, but it looks like trash because he doesn't know how to wear it properly. Whereas when you look at Taehee in a suit, however, may I present the first evidence here, you know, like he looks damn good.
This is dumb. No, I'm ranting to my friend because I'm just like, I'm showing her all of this and she's just laughing because this is so stupid. Like, he's like, if there's any blemishes or anything, and you don't know anything about your brother, the same brother you were beating every single day when you were younger. You would think that you at least know a thing or two about him, but no, he knows nothing. He knows nothing.
Yeah.
His entire chase is going to be fruitless. Like, you have money, you could pay someone else to be a PI. And
Well,
you
I
think that?
I have a feeling that I feel like Taehee could be a real threat if he would just get off his ass. And the other thing I was going to say too is regarding him is he's the type that thinks he's going to be he's the smartest in the room just because he's the heir. That's how he comes across to me. So I just kind of feel like, he's a little boy trying to play a man's game, and he's probably going to succeed because of dumb luck, if that makes sense. And then even here, if you look at the way that his suit looks, it looks huge on him. Like this jacket looks so baggy. I mean, like that is one of the things I clocked. Like, when he first showed up, like even here, like see how baggy this is? It looks
I think the
horrible.
suit looks great on him. Like, I just like the color. I think the color looks really good on him.
Yeah, it's a good color, but the thing is that he doesn't know how to wear a suit. And I feel it's like that saying, they say, "Oh, you can tell, girls from women if they know how to walk in heels." Well, I feel like, this is the same kind of logic. You
Well,
can
I'm a
tell a
girl
boy,
because I don't know how to walk in heels.
well, I'm right there with you, but my point is that he doesn't even know how to wear a suit. And how do you think you're going to run like a corporation looking like you just got out the club? I mean, I'm sorry, but that's, I just kind of feel like he's really immature, and like you can just tell, I mean, even look at his hair, like I mean, maybe if you're in college, but if you're trying to be a professional, like that's the last way that you want to look. But that's just me.
I don't think having his hair like that is like if you're gonna go up to some girls and be like, "Hey, we're from a business," I don't think you'd want a guy that looks like that coming up to you with shaggy hair.
Well, I will say that he does have that like sleazy, producer vibe about him. Um, so I could see where
He would
somebody
never run a financial business though, never.
No, but he's trying to make himself seem like a producer or an agent, and he does pull that vibe off pretty well. But yeah, he doesn't know
Picture of
anything about
Taehee is so
anything.
funny.
Um but yeah. And I'm just gonna read what Nettie was saying. She says, never forgetting how he was so pissed how Taeha styled his hair like Taeju. Like, now this is how you look in a professional environment. Get your shit together, man. Yeah, I agree with that 110%. Like, nobody's gonna take you seriously. I mean, homeboy's he's I almost want to say this is like a double-breasted coat with a chain. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, but and Kim says, I think he is a chaebol child, like the real golden spoon child. He gives off, I'm rich and I can do whatever I want because I have money. And I agree with that 110%. Like, this is a dude who is used to getting his way. And I think he also is used to buying out, buying people off, paying people just to get what he wants. And not doing it very smartly, I might add. And does anybody else have any comments? Oh yeah, I agree with Rahima. She said, or they say, it's obvious that they were raised differently. Yeah, and I will say that I am looking I'm very much looking forward to getting the flashbacks with both of the moms, because I have I have theories about how they were raised. So um
Are
sorry
you
about that.
okay?
Yeah, for some reason, like my throat is like
You
dry.
should drink some water.
I did. I guess I'm gonna have to drink some more. Um, But yeah, but I kind of feel like with the way they were raised, I kind of feel like Taehee was raised to believe that he is owed everything, whereas Taeha was raised to be like just keep a low profile. And what do you guys think? Any opinions?
I totally agree. I think they're raised totally different because you can Taehee and Taeha have completely different personalities and they live differently. And like if they didn't look like each other, you wouldn't be able to tell that they're brothers.
I mean, there's obviously like a family resemblance.
It's like a
Um,
family
you
feud.
know, yeah, what's interesting is that he is shorter than his brother. Like, I'm
And
the oldest of my family. I
age
have
shape
a
is
brother
different.
and a sister, but I'm the shortest.
Yeah,
So,
his eye shape is different from Taeha's, and his hair is longer, and he wears jewelry, so you'd be able to tell who is who.
but true, but there's still like a family resemblance. So,
I know that the
um,
eye color and the hair
mhm,
color.
um,
The mom
but they
genes
do both.
were 0.
Mhm. Repeat that. I'm sorry.
I said the mother's genes didn't play a part.
Well, to be fair, we haven't really seen either of the moms. Like, we've gotten glimpses, so, but I'm very interested to see, like, his mother, like Taehee's mother. I would really like to see what kind of like mom she is. Um, and I'm just going to read something that Nettie is just typed in the chat. What if I say the way Taeha was raised was the sole purpose of him to be the heir? Like, he was decided to be the heir since day one? I could see that. Um, I will say in my in my humble opinion that typically it's the oldest son that is supposed to inherit. However, I want to say that maybe when they were growing up, maybe Taehee exhibited some problematic behavior. So maybe that's why the chairman is probably changing his mind. Um, I'm sure that there's a lot of things that are going to come to light, like the deeper we get into this story. But it would not surprise me if at some point, maybe that was true. It would actually make a lot of sense, like maybe the way Teha's mother like raised him. Um, that could be very much possible, but I think we'll see.
Do you think that this is completely like a different subject, but it's still relating to the series. But at the end of this chapter, when Teha what appeared behind her, how long do you think he was standing there?
Say probably about maybe a good, minute or something, or maybe 30 seconds. It doesn't seem
'Cause-
like he was there very long.
yeah, but he's
But
gonna
long
snap
enough
that
to
guy
kind
up
of
for
get.
sure.
Oh, definitely. Like, he was there long enough to try to he was there long enough to get a read on the situation. So,
Trust me, when Na
I
Hae
also
Soo is
want.
not in the picture, he's gonna kill that dude.
Oh yeah, totally. I
But
think
keep going.
Brosip is going to back off now that he's seen her boyfriend and he knows that
I mean,
she
her
really does
boyfriend
have
is like
somebody
a
better than him.
huge hunk of a man, so
Yeah, yandere to boot. So, um, yeah, you
yandere.
gotta, yeah, you gotta love it. You gotta love the yandere.
Digital girl.
um,
She wants to speak.
yep.
Oh, there we go. Hello, my love.
Well, hey, digital girl. I think she's muted.
She is.
But
She
I'm
is
gonna go
muted.
ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and read the second part to what Nettie was saying.
Do
She
you want me to
says
read it for
unbreakable.
you because you can't talk right now?
Yeah, that's fine. Go for it.
Okay, which part is it?
The second part where it says unbreakable discipline.
Okay. Unbreakable discipline, more professional training. He goes to the office frequently to the point his assistant notices he keeps distances too much like a air, unlike Taehee, whose only instructions was to look into the hotel business. You can
Yeah,
comment
so
on
I
that now.
yeah, so I think a lot of that is probably just, him, just doing what just doing what he sees his father doing. That's what I kind of get from that.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. I don't have all the context because I got here like 3 minutes ago. So
Oh,
pardon
we
me
were
if I'm
just
redundant and
discussing
repeat.
the whole chapter. It was just a recap.
Yes, I'm very excited for the fact that we get to learn more about Taeha outside of his interactions and relationship with Na Hae Soo. And I'm in agreement about that unbreakable discipline. But I don't think it's just him emulating Teju. I think that's just the way that he was raised. Because if you think about the nightmare sequences that you've seen, one of the nightmare sequences where he had the hands covering his face, it could have been his mother. We don't know who it was. It was like never let anybody know your true feelings or never let anybody know your surname, depending on what translation um, you've read. You guys remember that nightmare sequence?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think honestly, one of the ways that he survived is being able to read the room and modulate
Definitely.
his behavior to what's necessary for him to survive. So taking advantage of every opportunity that he is given and taking it to the max is something that I've seen Teha do over the course of the story. And I am not surprised by his work ethic in any way because I do think he had to, for lack of a better phrase, get it out the mud. Literally, we don't know his backstory of how he was treated with his mother, but we do know how he was treated by his one and only sibling.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
we've always seen him very isolated from everyone. And he's continued that with even in high school. He had that facade of being very nice, but not very approachable and very odd to everyone. And everyone knows him, but nobody knows him. And that's the same thing that happened in college. He's discreet and he has a reason. And I love that for
Mm-hmm.
him. And I look forward to understanding more about the character because we don't have enough context to really say who he is and why he is the way he is. But they're revealing little tidbits little by little. And as per usual, I must put this out there because that's what I do. That chapter was way too short.
Yeah, I feel like they always are. I mean, I'll be honest, like my biggest takeaway from this chapter was the fact that Jesus stood up for herself.
Oh, yes.
Because I honestly I identify with that on so many levels. Like, as somebody who struggles with anxiety, it is really, really, really hard to speak up for yourself, especially like when you're used to being a people pleaser and you're doing it because you've, had unstable people in your life and you're doing things to make people happy so they don't like explode, so that made me so happy to see her stick up for herself. This is what I have been waiting so long for.
I
I am
agree.
just so happy, because I feel like now that she's ripped off that particular band-aid, in a manner of speaking, I feel like it's going to be a lot easier for her to speak up for herself. And the fact that she's thinking of, or let me rephrase that. The fact that she has made a decision to move is just huge, because that's a big move, especially after being in that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
I was very happy to see that.
I love the evolution of Na Hae Soo. And I love the influence that Taehee has had on her behavior.
Yes.
Just
Mhm.
looping back to I can't remember if it's like chapter 13 or 14, whichever chapter it was. I'm not good with numbers, but I'm good with details. When she decided to confront Mincheol about him having the makeup on his shirt. Voice that she heard inside her head was Taehee that said, "Do whatever you want."
Mhm.
And that echoed again in this chapter where she was like, she remembered that conversation as well. And she felt secure because she knew that if she stood up for herself, she had someone to back her up, which is something that is unusual for her. She spent most of her
Yes.
life walking on eggshells, whether it be for her
Agreed.
father, family, and Mincheol,
Yep.
who's never made her feel it, in in recency did not make her feel safe, right?
No.
So
Exactly.
that
Mhm.
and I'm glad that she's made the decision for herself that she wants to move, like you said, echoing you, because that goes beyond the influence of Taehee. It has nothing to do with and everything to do with Taehee. Sorry for the beeping. It's a bus.
Oh, you're okay. I was like coughing in everybody's ear earlier, so it is totally fine. And again, I'm sorry,
Hey, you're
guys.
fine. You're fine.
You never need to cough unless you're on the phone.
Absolutely. I always choke when I'm on the phone, but just looping back, I feel like people are going to downplay the evolution of Na Hae So simply
Yeah.
because they're accustomed to like underestimating her because she's not extreme. But the way she yelled
Mhm.
at the guy, I was like, listen, she has
Mhm.
guts. She has her own brain. She doesn't have to. I know she's gonna throw Taehee for a loop. I know.
Yep.
I just need to. I can't wait. And she's gonna be like, "You want to move?" Because he's probably already thinking in his head and plotting of
Yep.
how he's gonna get her out. But he doesn't even have to do that. 'Cause he's gonna do the thing that she always does to him, where she throws him for a loop, throws off his plans, and he just has to recalibrate and go along with her, which I love because he's always plotting.
Yep. That tracks. I mean, honestly, like I just, I'm just glad to see that she's reclaiming her independence. Like, I mean, yeah, like Taeha was a factor in her decision to move, but it's just good to see her like doing things on her own. Like even like buying him a shirt. I mean, when you buy something as a gift for someone, like that can be really nerve-wracking, especially if you feel like you don't know them as well as you should. And I mean, that's a very brave thing to do. And what I really appreciate about the fact that she bought him a shirt, the thing is with Jesus, when she gives a gift, um she tries to give it with intention and meaning. She doesn't just give things just to give them. She gives them with thought and purpose. And I think that by her giving him a shirt, I think that's a huge deal, in my humble opinion.
Yes, because if you parallel it back, like think back to the conversations that she had initially with Taeha. The one of the things that came up is like, oh, his height, and she's like, he went out because she's accustomed to buying clothes for Mincheol, but rather than thinking of Mincheol, she thought of Taeha and bought her clothes. I think that's
the
really
right thing
pivotal.
that Monday, I'm when you said that. Well,
Oh, Chrissy,
Oh,
nothing.
I think somebody's got an open mic.
no worries.
I'm actually going to read something that like Kim and Nettie said. So
Okay.
with Kim's comment, I think this was when we were first like bringing up Jesus. Um that comment says yes, because he's making her secure in herself. I can't wait till
Absolutely.
Minchel finds out she moved. He finna bust a brain aneurysm. And yes, I agree. Because I've always maintained that, men trash is, or men shit, as we like to call him here. I've always maintained that he's so full of himself that he doesn't. It just blows my mind that he thinks she can't exist without him.
Absolutely.
But okay, bro.
Existing. A
But
lot
okay.
of mine, but like he's not this idea that he's like ruminating and like cementing in his head that she's hiding. And the reason she can't answer the phone is because she's in hiding and she's gonna be okay, she's gonna be this and that and the other. Meanwhile, two men were in her house and she could have been in danger. And the first thing that you think to do is mess around with the side chick because in his mind, she's a side chick. Ari's a side chick. It doesn't matter what
But
she.
yeah,
That's how he sees her, right? So you go and
Mm-hmm.
you fuck around with your side chick while your wife is in fucking danger.
Yeah.
Like, help
I
me
mean,
understand. I would have been screaming through the streets. Do something. Call the police.
see,
Do
but that's
something.
the thing, though. He didn't. You know what he did? He went back to Ari and he fucked her brains out while
Lit-
thinking of his ex.
While
And
thinking
then
of his
she
ex
was like,
getting
oh,
actually assaulted. Like thinking of your ex.
exactly.
Like,
Like,
wow.
who does
Coercion for
that?
sex.
Like,
A piece of
who
trash.
does that? I mean, like,
And
really?
like it's disgusting. Like thinking of your wife, your vulnerable wife being coerced into sex by gangsters. Then you go fuck your
Mm-hmm.
side chick.
Yep.
It's a it
So,
goes beyond
and
it's like disgusting beyond the pale. Like I don't get it. I don't get it.
yeah, like, and to put the icing on the cake, he started fucking her just so she wouldn't yell at him. Because if you
Again.
notice, the pattern of behavior with men shit is he gets in trouble with Ari, for lack of a better way to put it. But I said what
Yep.
I said.
Indeed.
So he gets in trouble with Ari. The first thing he does is he like grabs her tits and then he tries to bang her because once he does that, she's all like, "Oh, okay."
He loses her
She's
train of thought.
yeah, like she's dickmatized by the ginger, and I don't have nothing against gingers. I just have something against this particular ginger. I mean, he must have some good dick in or something, man. But
He's had
anyways,
some terrible dick because apparently he doesn't even really do foreplay.
no, he just kind of like grabs her boobs and like just sticks it in. Like,
Ropes and then thrusts. The end.
yeah. Like, I mean, that just sounds painful. And it's not like, I'm going to say this comment, but it's not like he's using lube. So, I mean, he's just like raw dogging a dude. And it just sounds painful. But you know what? Whatever floats your boat,
Whatever floats your boat. I think, honestly, he's in for a rude awakening. He kind of wanted Na Hae Soo to confront him at his job. But I think the direction of her saying, I will leave this place because I don't feel safe. And she shouldn't.
No, she shouldn't. I mean, especially when like Broseph just like walks in like he don't live, like he lives there, and I'm just like, who do you think you are just walking into a woman's house like that? I mean,
Walking in and assaulting her because he really did grope her too, talking about, oh, are you lonely? Are you jealous? Like it was ew. That was
yeah,
ew. Gross.
that mm-mm. And like let's talk about like the guy that followed her cuz
Oh,
like to me, oh my god, like I've been like I was saying earlier, like I've been followed and that shit is scary because
very much.
you don't know what they're going to do. Like I had some guy like when I was in college, I was living in Fort Lauderdale and I walked from the dorms to the bus stop, which was near a mall, but there was like some kind of overpass. So the bus stop was underneath the overpass. So it was kind of hard to see. So this guy follows me to the bus stop in his car. He parks his car and he comes to talk to me. And he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And I gave him a fake name. And he's like, so what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to school. And then he's like, oh, well, why don't I give you a ride? I'm like, no, thanks. I'll just take the bus.
No,
And he's like,
sir.
yeah. And then he kept oh, well, I work at the hospital. Okay. So what you're telling me is you know how to hide a body. I mean, obviously I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. And I was just like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm just going to take the bus. And he's like, oh, but I work at the hospital. I'm like, I don't care, dude. I don't know you. You don't know me. How do I know you're not going to like throw me in your car and, chop me up or whatever? I'm like, nah, man, you ain't making a skin suit out of me. So I had to stand there very uncomfortably with some dude who was bigger than me
Right.
at a bus stop. And I'm just like, and I'm
Well,
like
trying to
thinking,
coerce you into his car.
yeah. And I'm just like, okay, I'm in a place where nobody can really see me. And I was like looking for the mall security. And I was like, okay, I don't think the mall is open because it's too early. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to run in the middle of the street in a major intersection if this dude tries something. But luckily the bus came and, that was it. But it's still scary. Like, you just don't know what people are going to do. And the fact that like he like caught her by the wrist, which we all know is a trigger for her, but she was
Yep.
still able to like stick up for
Articulate.
herself. Girl,
It's a plus.
it is.
You know what's sad? Like, both characters, both Taeha and Na Hae Soo, by their childhood, their situations, had to be, situational awareness, had to read the room, had to be able to look out for their backs, because
Mhm.
that could honestly be the thin line between life and harm. Not maybe
Yes.
even death, depending on
Mhm.
what happens, because getting beat up could also end your life as well. It's not one of those things where you're like, oh, you get slapped around, and that's okay. You can have a
Yeah,
concussion.
no.
You can have, like, things can happen, intended or not. And this is the first time that we've actually seen Na Hae Soo in a situation where she regularly is accustomed to walking home by herself, be
Mhm.
situationally aware that someone could possibly harm her, follow her, who's not in her direct circle of association, which is scary.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, it's probably going to make her more paranoid. And when the time comes, and we know it's going to happen because, the Beyonds are not people who you fool around with, she's going to be even hyper aware that she's
Yep.
being followed.
Mhm.
That
Well,
just
she
proves
clocked it
she's
pretty
not, like,
early.
very much so. I mean, he was like a nutcase standing outside of the store while she's shopping, just like following her. She's like, oh, he's following me in the alley. I'm not going to proceed any further because it gets dark down there. Like, that's
Yeah, I
scary.
don't it really is. I mean, and what really gets me about that guy too is the fact that like as soon as she tried to, calmly and politely turn him down, it was immediately like, "Oh, well, you're only doing this because I told you were pretty and, and you're actually older,
Yeah.
so, and it's like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Like, just
Nothing.
like,
It
oh,
doesn't.
just because you work for a good company doesn't mean I'm, obligated to give you my info. It's like the Flight of the Concord said. They made a song called "A Kiss Is Not a Contract," and
Love the
yes, a
Flight of the
kiss is not
Concord.
a. Oh my God, this is Bowie to Bowie. But anyways, I digress. But anyways, but yeah, like this is contract. You are not obligated to give anyone your information just because they say they're okay. I'm friendly. Oh, I don't, no. You the reason why people ask is because they're giving you a choice. The
Yep.
choice is no, I don't want to give this to you. And yeah, you don't have to be happy about it, but that's the decision that was made. So that's what you got to live with.
Absolutely. But you know, living in the United States, I know this takes place in South Korea, but living in the United States, there's so many stories, a proliferation of stories about women who, you know, turn down someone's advances and they get harmed.
Yep.
And that struck a bell, same way that you have your story about being like basically stalked at the bus stop. Perhaps, I even have my own stories about um unwanted advances and
Hmm.
declining someone's advances and them getting very angry with me
Yep.
trying to because I'm just trying to go about my day and go about my way. I
Exactly.
don't want to cause anybody. If I say no, that should be the end of the story. And no means no
Exactly.
is a
Exactly.
problem. I mean, knowing what consent is a common theme in this story that seems to be frankly missing from the men that kind of orbit around Na Hae Soo. And even like, other characters, knowing that you should be getting consent, you should ask a person if this is what they want to do, and you shouldn't shame them or, you
Hmm.
know, verbally assault them if they don't want to. It's
Exactly.
very important. And, more and more, I see stories of women who have actually been killed, who've been maimed,
Yep.
who've been, hospitalized because they refuse somebody's advances. And that should not be that way, but it struck a chord
I
with me
mean,
as
this
well.
is the unfortunately, this is our reality. I hate to say. I mean, you know, I'll tell you what, like back when I was in college, this was like late 90s going into the 2000s. It got to a point where if I was at a club or a bar and a guy bought me a drink, I would actually buy them a drink in return. And the
Yeah.
reason why I did that was I didn't want them to be like, and I've had this happen. They're like, oh, well, I bought you a drink. I'm like, okay, but I didn't ask you. I told you not to, and you did it anyway.
Right.
So that's when I started to buy them a drink back. And, they're like, oh, you don't have to. I'm like, nah, man, it's cool. You bought me one, I buy you one. And the reason for that is because, again, a kiss is not a contract. And I
Right.
know that a lot of men complain how they buy drinks for women and they don't reciprocate. And then they feel like you owe them. Like, even if you just dance with somebody, I mean, it's been ages since I've gone out. But I know when I used to, in my club days, um, you dance with a guy and then all of a sudden they're like attached to you, like at the
Yeah,
hip for the
it had
rest of the night. And it's just
the
like,
yeah.
and
Okay.
it's like you didn't even ask them to dance. They just got up on your ass, like literally, and
Yes,
then just started
yeah.
following you around. And I'm just like, bro. But anyways, but yeah, it
Yeah.
just goes to show how like some men just view women as property and possessions, and that we are basically just an object with no, like we have no autonomy
Agency.
anymore. Like,
No
and
actual agency.
I don't want to I don't want to get political. I'm just going to say this one thing and then I will let it go. But I will say the fact that I'm in the US, I can't even have an abortion if I needed it. And I feel like because of mentalities like that, I feel like this type of behavior is proliferating just because women are not viewed as people. We are viewed as a uterus, and we are always viewed as somebody. We are viewed as the gender that always has to owe somebody because of what they did for us. And
Yeah.
I will just let that rest there.
I mean,
Sorry, I don't mean to get political, but
no, it's okay. I mean, like if you think about South Korea and how the movement is that women have stopped wanting to get married, they, had to be denying sex to men because simply they feel like they're oppressed and it's a lot of misogyny. That it's not just the United States, it's a global trend that you're seeing where people
mhm,
are like recognizing that misogyny and that the male loneliness epidemic is self-induced, and there's nothing we can really do about it because we as ourselves pour into ourselves as much as we can, but the system that we work with restricts us from being able to move forward simply because of the same power structures
Mm-hmm.
that put laws in place to restrict us. And it's unfortunate, right? Because once upon
It
a
really
time, we
is.
couldn't get a credit card, we couldn't get a house, we were property, right?
Yeah,
That's
we
just the
were.
thing. You had no autonomy unless your husband actually signed off on it. And the thing about it is with like, if you think about tying it back to Tears on a Withered Flower, the rhetoric that Mincheol uses when he talks about Na Hae Soo echoes that same common theme. He thought of her
Mm-hmm.
as a flower that lost her thorns. She was boring. She was this. She would never ever look at anyone else because she's his. She's
Mm-hmm.
his. She will never go anywhere. She'll always be stuck inside that house. The irony of that, especially now that Na Hae Soo's like, all right, it's time to move. She's even let the landlord know she's peacing out, which I love. Yes, girl. She said, I've made moves already and I'm about to move. Like the idea that he always thought she was going to be stuck in that dingy ass kitchen, cooking for Mincheol, worrying about whether Mincheol has eaten or slept or is he's okay. That idea that that is her, that's the only agency she has in living in service to him is a problematic thing that we're talking about, right? It echoes throughout the story. One of the things I love about Taeha is he does not think of Na Hae Soo through that lens. He doesn't
Mm-mm.
understand how much damage has been done to her, but he thinks about her autonomy. He's like promoting her to
He
like
does.
you can do things. You don't have to like deny yourself things that you want because someone else needs something. You don't have to like impose someone else's feelings on yours. Not even mine. You don't have to do that. It's
Yeah, I
my fault that I
agree.
feel this way. Like
I
I
agree.
love
Like,
that.
I think he was exactly what she needed. I think
Mhm.
she needed someone who had the flexibility to let her grow. Because, I mean, let's face it, like, when they first met, she was in no position to be in any kind of relationship. And don't
Nope.
get me wrong, like I wanted that for her. However, sometimes, and I've seen this with my own friends in real life, they break up with a guy, they immediately get into another relationship. And I'm just like, are you sure you want to do this? Oh, yes, I love him. Okay. But you just broke up with somebody like 2 weeks ago and now you want to be in another committed relationship and you haven't even gotten over you know
You have healed.
Bob that you just broke up with, or he broke up with you, like serial daters, and if that's the way you want to be, that's fine. I'm not here to judge. It's not on me, it's not my life. You find your bliss. But do you really think you're going to have something meaningful if you just jump from relationship to relationship? And I respected the fact that even though her hormones were raging, homegirl was ovulating like mad. I respect the fact that she tried to keep him at arm's length so she could work on her, and
Mhm.
then is when she was like, okay, let me get some Teja dessert. You know what I mean? Like,
Listen, let me get a piece. I'm curious.
yeah,
I've been curious.
yeah, let's break
Let me
off
try this.
break off a piece for Auntie.
And that was a lot. That was a whole cake. That wasn't even a piece.
I
We talking about a
mean,
snack. That was a meal.
yeah, that was like a fine Michelin star chef meal with a lot of
Yeah.
courses that she didn't even know she wanted. But you know what? I'm glad for her. Let her get hers, because God knows Mincha did not do that for her. And I
You
think
know,
actually they were talking about it in the chat like earlier. And I was gonna bring this up because somebody was saying how yeah, yeah, Nettie and Kim were commenting earlier about how, like, when they first did it, it was like she didn't even know that, like, just a touch could feel good, and that just
mhm.
goes to show you, that if you get somebody that knows how to treat you right, it's the little things that can be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I will say that, like, when we get that flashback of, like, Minchol
Mhm.
and Jesus first doing it to they when they had their first time, I felt so bad for her. I really did, because he's just sitting there pumping away, knowing she's in pain, but doesn't slow down. And it's
Right.
like, I can kind of understand because he's, getting his wet for the first time. But it's like, go slow, man. You're hurting her, and yet you're doing this anyway. And I think that is when the pattern developed of him
Yeah.
kind of liking it when she cried for him.
Exactly. He tied it to intimate moments, and then also because he lacks discretion and control, he never reined it in because there was no repercussions for him to like,
Mm-mm.
or ramifications for him not having control. And she had already said, it's all right, it's okay because it's you. And if you even think about it, like common stories of, yeah, I can remember my first time. Yeah, it's not my first time at the rodeo, but I remember my first time. It wasn't that pleasant.
Yeah.
And
No,
it
it
was
was
very,
not. I remember mine too. Oh
it
my
was not
god.
pleasant. It was painful. And
Yes,
I
it was.
literally was like, I didn't want to continue. And I didn't continue because I was like, didn't feel good. And, those kinds of situations where he just kept thrusting away while she cried and then apologized later. As you said, it just echoes the pattern of, making sure that the sheer selfishness of, I'm going to get mine and good luck if you get yours. And that's,
Exactly.
and lack of discretion goes into how he's treated her over time. And the fact that he's like, I feel like I'm lacking your attention, I'm lacking your regard, I'm lacking you doing what I want. I'm gonna go find someone to do it. But I don't even want that person. I just want you to hurt. I want you to cry.
Yeah.
And I'll think
I
about you the whole time I do it, which is disgusting.
yeah, it really is. I mean, I I get that some people like a little bit of pain with their pleasure, but that's only if it's what's the word? Mutual or consensual. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
Um
Listen. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 no. You keep going, keep going.
Sorry, I had to cough again.
Okay, well,
I mean, go ahead.
it's like, no, is she coughing? Is she choking? She go breathe through it. Are you still coughing?
No, you can go.
Oh, I was just gonna read off a comment from Rahima, but it reminded me of that one chapter where Mincheol wanted to be intimate with her and she told him to use protection, but he said no, it's not like anything will happen.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that
it
made
was
me really mad.
really mad because not only in that moment when she was the most vulnerable and willing to to be intimate, the fact that she asked him to do something that I think it was not even the fact that he didn't want to use protection. It was the audacity of her to ask for something when he was ready to do whatever he wanted to do in that moment. Because he told her, we're in a rush. We're gonna,
Mhm.
I'm gonna just stick it in. And she was like, no, you should use protection. And he's like, well, you're not gonna get pregnant anyway, because she had the audacity to request something that was adverse to his will.
Yep. Exactly. That just goes to show that how little he thinks of her. Even like when, and this is what really gets me about him too. Like I I get that they shared a history, and I get that Mincheol was not always a bad guy. Nobody is born an asshole.
No,
And I get that. I respect that. And I respect the fact that he probably had things in his life, that made him turn out the way that he is. Because nobody
absolutely.
is that starts out that bitter. However, it's the fact that he just has no regard for other people. Like, even when you look at Ari, like, every time they do it, he's always taking her from behind. And to me, that is very, very impersonal. It's almost like he doesn't want to acknowledge that she is a person. She is just a whole. And I hate to say it that way, but that's how it comes across to me. Like the one chapter where he was taking her from behind and he had her arm back, and I thought he was gonna like pull her
Rip her arm
shoulder
off,
out or something. I
dislocate her
mean,
shoulder.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude. But it just goes to show that he just does not care. He has zero fucks to give, and that's fine. but not when you're hurting other people, you know. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Ari, I have mixed feelings about her. However, she deserves to be treated as a person too. But the fact that he won't
Everyone.
look at her while he's doing it with her says a lot to me.
Absolutely. You know what? It's funny that you mentioned the whole situation with him. Always, his preference is to take her from behind when they're having sex. And it's funny because the second round of like Na Hae Soo and Taehee having sex, the fact that he turned around because he felt like she didn't want to be intimate, like she didn't want to look at him and stuff like that. And he did it of feeling like out of a front goes to show you he's like he wanted the intimacy, he wanted to look at it, he wants to look in her eyes, he wanted everything about it. And when he felt that she did not want to look at him during the act, he like turned her around, and at first it was like uncontrolled and a little bit of
Mhm.
anger, and then after that he lost himself to it, and both of them did. But it was out of doing it out of a place of hurt because he
Yeah,
wanted intimacy.
yes. But see, that's the thing though, because Taeha keeps everything so close to his chest. She doesn't know that she was his first. So you can't
Nope.
really. So the thing is that even though Taeha is hurt by the things that she says, he can't really be mad at her. You know, and
And he
sometimes
knows it, he
yeah,
knows it
and
though.
sometimes I think he gets a little resentful. Like the whole thing with it's like, oh, we look like a married couple. And she's like, no, we don't. You know, like, how can you be mad at that if you don't tell her, hey, you are my first love? Now, granted, it is a little too soon to be throwing around the L word. However, you already
For
let
her.
her take your V card. So, I don't know. It's kind of like I kind of feel like he's doing a dance. I think he's
Yeah.
trying to I think he's trying to get what he needs from her emotionally without, being clingy. But at
He's
the
trying to
same
get it
time,
organically. He's trying to get her
yeah,
to like coax her to say it without him having to like pour. He wants it to be genuine. I get it. I get it.
yeah, and I do too. But you can't be mad when you don't tell her, hey, this was the first time, of me doing this. Like that's something that you really need to tell your partner. That's not something that you can just be like, oh, BT dubs, you know, I just
You
banged for the
need
first time and it was with you. Like, no, but again, they don't know how to communicate because nobody's ever taught them how. And I know we've had that discussion before, but
like why he wouldn't tell her. Like he said, I'm more romantic than you think. And she was like, I know you're up to something. Like I know what you're about. You're promiscuous. You look like you like have a lot of girls. He's like, you don't know anything. But he didn't go into the little like full gambit. And I get why he
Mhm.
has it because like she's 33, he's 23. If he was like, yo, I'm a virgin, nobody's first of all not gonna believe it. Second of all, she's gonna be like, WTF, do you really need to be with somebody that you love and care about and not me? I don't want that responsibility. That would have actually made her run away because like
Mhm.
she lost her
Exactly.
virginity to somebody, her first love. She wouldn't, I don't think, she's like, you don't love me. You don't really know me. You're just a young guy who's intrigued by me. I don't want that responsibility. So I get why he didn't say it.
Oh, I do
Um,
too. I do too.
but he
But
needs to tell
but
her
at the same
to
time,
point.
it's like you're not getting what you need emotionally because she doesn't know what you need. You know,
Nope. But
like
he's
it
trying to
kind
like
of
read the room all the time,
yeah.
you know.
Oh,
It's-
definitely. I mean, there's
But he
only so much
can't.
reading you can do, before you
Right.
just have to be like, okay, this is what I want from you. This is what I need. You know, that's all But again, we know they're terrible communicators, but we love them anyway.
Well, the night I was going to take her steps to communicate. I want to go back to the chat and read some comments. So Nettie said yes,
Sure.
she also in reference to Na Hae Soo, yes, she also ran out of excuses not to get intimate because she can't keep saying she's on her period. Just fucking devastating. The audacity to shove the miscarriage into her face, like no human body will be able to bear a child when you're 24/7 stressed, working more than sleeping, and barely eating anything. I do agree that
Yes.
no healthy human body is ever going to be able to bear children under duress, right? But
No. I
here's the
mean, even
thing.
in a good pregnancy, it still takes a toll on your body. You can do everything right and still miscarry. You know what I mean? So yeah, like, and, and when I when I saw his reaction to that, I was like, "Oh no. Oh no, you just did not try to diss our girl like that and put that blame on her. Oh no. This is you."
Absolutely. And another thing I just want to put out there, I don't care what excuse she has. She could have used the fact that she was on her period 365 days out of the year. She could have said that shit fell out of her bottom and into the floor. There is no reason that a man should feel entitled to have sex with someone without
Yes,
their consent.
that
It
is
doesn't
correct.
matter. It
Mm-mm.
does not even matter. And really, honestly, the last time that Na Hae Soo had declined him, she literally was like, "I am tired." The next time she was like,
Mhm.
"I have to go to work." And then the third time, she was like, "All good, just please wear a condom." All valid excuses. She had like 50, 11 jobs. There's
Mhm.
no reason with Mincheol sitting on his froggy ass to
Yep.
feel like he's entitled to sex simply because he wants something, acting like a spoiled child. He is. Any excuse a woman has not to have sex is enough to be like, you're not having sex. Now, in a relationship with an intimate relationship, that is going to cause obviously challenges if one person
Mhm.
wants intimacy and the other one does not. But the problem is Mincheol lacked awareness,
Did we lose him?
empathy.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, awareness and empathy. He lacked it. So like your wife is tired and skinny and working 3, 4 jobs and coming home cut up and wearing pain patches, maybe she doesn't feel so sexy, especially when you've been telling her she looked dry, ugly, boring. She needs to put on some
Uh,
makeup.
like, who's gonna
Yeah.
want to have sex with a ginger fucking carrot that is constantly putting you down, making you feel like some old worn out auntie? I mean, it's
Right.
no wonder. And that's the thing that gets me about him, because he's basically putting all of this pressure on her, right?
Yeah.
Like, he wants her to be his wife without being married. Might I add? He wants her to be his chef, his maid, the breadwinner, plus a sex kitten on top of that. I mean, how much are you going to put on one person, especially when they probably spend like 19 to 20 hours of their day trying to make a living just to keep you in a house that you can barely afford?
Right.
Not to mention all the soju and the cigarettes, because that shit ain't cheap. So not only is she giving you a place to stay, making you fresh food, like somebody mentioned in the chat earlier, and doing your laundry, keeping that shabby house clean and spick and span. And now you mad because she don't wear makeup. She's wearing worn out stretched out panties because she can't afford better, and you're gonna get mad at her because she's not wearing makeup and she's not being a sex kitten for you. Go fuck yourself,
Right.
Mr. Ginger. I'm sorry.
Like when did she have time to even put on any makeup? She's out here like running these streets trying to make ends meet. That's just wild to me. I responded to you, Nettie, by the way, but when you said that, like I said, Ari's brain is up in her coochie, her
Yeah.
as I said, you know what, that's why it's mangled and disoriented, because she is getting pounded away. She's not thinking for worth a damn. I want to put something out there as a woman to woman. I am tired of people infantilizing Ari. I get it. You can get victimized, you can get manipulated, you can get a lot of things. But one of the funny things about Minchel, other than he does manipulate, most of the time he just be flat out telling her the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And she chooses to continue to engage when she doesn't have to. She has a whole loving family. She has a
Mm-hmm.
nice place. She has a job. She could literally ruin him if she wanted to.
Yeah,
No,
she really
but maybe
could.
not.
I mean, ruin his reputation. He won't lose a job until finally we figure out who the parachute is, and I think it's Taehee. But she could literally make it very rough for him to continue to work. If she so chose. She doesn't There's nothing about what
Mm-hmm.
Mincheol does for her that is essential to her life other than fucking her brains out. She
Yep.
is 26. She's not
Mm-hmm.
18. She's a grown woman and she acts like an infant. Does she deserve the treatment that she's getting in the current iteration of where they are in their relationship? Absolutely not. But does she have the agency and the access to be able to do better? Absolutely. And she's
Oh,
choosing not to.
100%. 100%. I mean, I think well, for us that are older anyway, shall we say, the people in the auntie range, we've all had that one relationship where we knew it was bad, but we went back anyway, including this auntie here. Like when I was in college, I had an ex. We were constantly off and on, off and on. I mean, from one day to the next, I never knew where we stood. And then finally, somebody said something to me that just woke me up. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And I was like, yeah, we ain't doing this no more. Like, at one point, he tried to call me for a booty call. I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing this anymore. And can I tell you how freeing that felt just to be like, no,
Yeah, but
just
it
say
feels
no to the
amazing.
day. You know what I mean?
Listen, it feels so amazing. I've been there, done that. Like everybody at least has that one. Like, hope
Mm-hmm.
everybody doesn't. I had that one. May he rest in peace. Everyone's had that one that will like bang you silly and make you act like a goofy bitch. And I've
Yep.
had mine. And we've come to like a consensus over time. Thankfully, we had conversations and he started treating me like a human, not an object. But even so, I distanced myself from that because I knew that I deserved someone who saw the whole me, loved the whole me, and
Exactly.
didn't
Hmm.
only see me as an opportunity to feel good. I mean, even though he did make me feel good, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm right there with you, but but
Listen,
at some point it
you gotta
just
do better.
becomes
You know
like,
better.
yeah, it just comes to a point where it's just not enough. Like, yeah,
It's not.
the couple hours that you spend fooling around, yeah, it's it feels
Amazing.
great and whatever, but at the end of the day, is it really fulfilling? You know what I mean?
You
Like,
go like if you come out of the situation with regrets and emptiness, then that's not something that you should continue. And for her, she's
exactly.
in the regret phase of their situation, but she continues to engage. Even like her saying, "Oh, you ghosted me." Girl, he came home. It
Yeah,
wasn't it wasn't even you know what ghosting really is? Ghosting is when you call them, they don't answer you, and you don't see them for not hours, but days. She talking about, oh, you ghosted me. The next time I call, it's like she has anxious attachment issues
she
that
really
aren't being
does. The fact
discussed.
that he woke up with her hand in his underwear, probably grabbing that dick, that tells you everything you need to know about Ari. Like, that man probably can't fart, take a shit
He can't
without
even
her
smoke a
being,
cigarette.
yeah,
Like
without her being up his ass. And in that way, I do have a smidgen of pity for him, because I have been with people that just attach to themselves. They just attach to you, right? They're like a snail or something that just sticks to you and they go with you everywhere. And
a
it's
slug,
really, yeah,
a
it's so
leech.
suffocating too, man, because it's
And he
like you
said it was
can't even,
suffocating too, right?
yeah, it's very suffocating, because like I know, like, a funny story. Me and my husband, right? We dated a long time ago. I broke up with him because he was very clingy, right? Eh, Flash forward, we end up married. However, at the time when we first dated, he was just too much. Like, I'm the type
Mm-hmm.
of person where, I am fine by myself. I enjoy being by myself. I enjoy the quiet. I like to describe myself as an introverted extrovert. Like, I like people, but
Mhm.
when I hit my limit, I'm done.
Yes.
Like even with my best friend, like in Florida, like we used to hang out all the time, but then it was like, okay, I'm going home.
Right.
So just to have somebody like that, it just thinking about it is mentally exhausting. And in that way, I do feel sorry for Mincheol.
Yes, because he did say it's suffocating. But she also Ari is also a woman who's expects to be catered to because she comes from a loving home where I
Mhm.
don't know, she's the only child, but she acts very much like the only child, and he's not as accustomed to having someone demand his attention, his time. And you know
Mhm.
what? You know what's funny? Kim says, but the thing about Minchal is I realize he respects the women in front of other men, but when it comes to with him specifically, it's like he's the king above them. And Ari
Yes.
doesn't allow her, like Ari, reveres him for the sex that he brings in his face and that he's good at it and all. But she expects to be pampered. But when she does pamper, she expects to be praised, which is
Yep.
fine. Listen, maybe she got a praise fetish, but her expectation is anything that she does for him, he needs to be effusively praising her and paying attention to her because that's what she expects. And that's okay because that's the woman that she is. He's not accustomed to having to do anything but the less than the bare minimum because Na Hae Soo was very aware of the sensitive situation that they were in, and she very much
Mhm.
catered to him rather than him catering to her. So that really is outside of his field of expertise, but he has the awareness and wherewithal to know that he can't act like a absolute dick in front of his coworkers unless you threaten his territory, which nobody actually threatened his
Mhm.
territory. They were just like, "Oh, introduce me to Nahe." So he could have literally been like, "No," and called it a day. But he wanted to jack people up. He had a whole crash out because he's like, "Oh, that's my property." That's how crazy he thinks of Nahe. So he's like, Nahe only thinks of her husband. She ain't got no husband. You ain't a husband.
I mean, which is rich coming from him. Because here's another thing that really bugs the shit out of me about Minchol. So it's only she is only his wife when it's convenient for him. She is
Mm-hmm.
only his wife when somebody, he kind of reminds me of like that kid, who brings a toy and like if you don't give them, they have so many toys, they don't know what to do with it, but as soon as somebody picks it up, all of a sudden it's mine. Like that's what
Oh
he
yes,
reminds me of. Like, you know,
territory.
yeah, very
Mm.
territorial. And, and sometimes it makes me wonder if maybe the reason for that is because he's never really had a lot of stability in his life. And maybe
Right.
Jesus is like a representation of that, which I
Absolutely.
can, I can kind of understand, but at the same time, again, he's trying to get her to fulfill like all of these roles all at the same time. And one person just cannot do all of that. You can't be all those different things at the same time, and
Yes.
he's also, in my opinion, I think he's also very, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Hypocritical?
I'm sorry, say again?
Asinine? Hypocritical? Asinine?
Well, he's those, but he is very oh god, I'm trying to think of the word. Insecure. That's the word I was looking
Yes.
for. He's
Absolutely
very,
insecure.
very insecure. And on some levels, I'm wondering if maybe the reason why he doesn't want to let go of Na Hae Soo is because it would mean admitting that he will be truly alone and he will have no one that will, you know, want to be with him. You know what I mean? Like she's a safety blanket, in other words.
I don't think that not for nothing. If he continues down the route that he's going, he will have no one that wants to look at his face. But that would only be because he's a self-destructive, ill, he's self-destructive, lacks critical thinking,
Mhm.
a lot of things. Because he could literally live a life with Ari. But the thing about it
Yes.
is to loop back on the conversation. It's not that he won't have anyone. It's the fact that he won't have anyone who knows him for real. Like Na Hae
Correct.
Soo
Yes.
knows the person he was. She has history with him. If he lets her go, it's like letting go of his mother, his father, his grandmother, all of his.
Hmm.
That's the only sole family member that he has that knows him in his youth and in his present, for better or worse. If he lets that go, that's the person he always wanted to be with. And she has represented and been a replacement, as you said, for a lot of that family structure that he always looked for. Now he's acting like a bratty teenager and a child, and he expects that she's going to love him unconditionally as a child
Hmm.
would from a parent, unfortunately.
Exactly.
But that's not the reality. You cannot treat people like trash and expect them to treasure you for the rest in perpetuity. Not even a parent,
Exactly.
right? Um,
Exactly. Because and to add to that, even parents sometimes, have to exercise like tough love.
yeah,
Like my sister, God bless her, like when she was 19, you couldn't tell her nothing. So I can't tell you the amount of time and effort, you know, our family spent in trying not to get her to move out with her boyfriend to Michigan and to come back a year later pregnant. Not that there's anything wrong with that. However, some people learn they just have to fall before they can learn. And I hate to put it that way, but that's how it is. And I feel like, you know, this is kind of the situation that like Ari and Mincheol are in. Like you can't tell them nothing. You know, you just I had somebody tell me once that, being in a relationship, it's kind of like you're in like a football game or a ball game. Like
right,
everybody around you can see everything that's happening, but because you're in it, you can only see what's in front of you. And
right.
I feel like that's what's going on now. Like we have the because we are the audience, we have a lot more information at our disposal than what the characters do. So we
Absolutely.
can see a hell of a lot more than what they can. But the thing is that I feel like Ari, this is her first like big romance, like grown up romance. So
Mhm.
I think there's a little bit of that in there. But I also think that she has a very unhealthy attachment to Minchol. And I think it's
Absolutely.
because, I mean, to be fair, Minchol is a good looking dude. He
Yep.
presents himself well. Presents is the key word. But
Yep.
I kind of feel like it's all a front and she fell for it.
Yep.
um, you
Scam.
know, and like I said, we all had that one relationship, and for Ari, this is hers, but I still maintain, though, that if they were to get married, I feel like her father would be like, oh, hell no, you know. But I also kind of feel like too, they're toxic for each other. Like they're just too toxic for each other, but they can't see it yet. Which
No,
is
they can definitely
unfortunate.
definitely can see it. And I'm gonna go into the chat one second. I'm just sending money to someone to buy me tour
Can
merch
we
from Beyonce concert.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was sending something so I can buy merchandise from the Beyonce concert. Pardon me one moment. All right, I'm
Oh,
back in. I went to the concert, didn't get anything. I've got friends and on the other side. Anyway, going into the chat. Um, I noticed, I want to say it was Nettie. Hold on, I gotta find the quote. All right, so between the four walls, Nettie said, between the four walls, nobody will be able to see how shitty he treats women and how he only sees Ari and not his soul, in addition, as a cock sleeve.
mhm.
Like it's true. Like he treats
It
her
really
that way. He
is.
talk the way that he talks about like Na Hae Soo while he's engaged in coitus with Ari is gross.
I
Like
think you
he's
cut out.
oh sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I was saying the way that he thinks about and talks about Na Hae Soo while he's engaged in coitus, mid coitus with Ari is gross.
It really is. I mean, it's really disgusting. And it's like you said earlier, the fact that he's like imagining her being like sexually assaulted. I mean, it's just like, why, bro? Why? Out of all the things you could be thinking about, why you doing your girl from behind, you want to go there? I mean, that is some like that is a mental mind fuck to me, pardon my
Oh,
French. I
I
mean,
mean, we
what
are
does
talking
that say
about
about
money.
you?
It says a lot, and none of it is actually very pleasant. Another
Mm-mm.
comment from the chat was that he talks about Na Hae Soo being married while Willis he's telling his coworkers that he's single. There was a saying that I picked up from a romance novel that I love, and it said, "With one ass, you can't sit two horses. So either you married or you're not married. How come your wife
Exactly.
is married but you're not?" And you're not
Mm-hmm.
married, you're divorced. And why are we divorced? Because you wanted to saddle her with a debt so they wouldn't come for your money when you actually decide to earn some so that you guys could like alleviate the debt some way. Except you kept her in debt and dusty and destitute. Willis, you drank soju on the floor, never cleaned up your bottles or your cigarettes, and expected her to
Mm-hmm.
cater to you hand and foot. The reason that they
Exactly.
got divorced was to avoid having them like, you know, take the money that he's supposed to be earning because he ain't beating the streets to get it. It's
Exactly.
fascinating to me. Just fascinating and fuckery. It just makes me so angry. But you know what? I gotta loop back. I have to loop back to the conversation we were having about the stalker because we talked about misogyny and then we went down the men shit route. And I'm gonna,
Sorry. We
I'm gonna
always get
tell
on this topic.
we can't help it because he's a part of the central theme
Oh,
that
I know.
continues to like perpetuate itself about how the the lens of how not all men but some men treat and mistreat women because it's a lot of
Yes.
women mistreatment in here in this story. But I'm going back to the stalker, and there's a reason why I'm going back to the stalker. In the chats, in the in the channels that we have, I did notice that people have posted from TikTok, other sources, and even like personal thoughts that the stalker has some association with other central characters that are either searching for Na Hae So because they're being told to, or they are coworkers and things like that. And I was just like, no, we always like to like try to pull threads down, and gain them is really hard to like really tack down what's the central thing because tropes
Mm-hmm.
used by the author don't you go in the most cliche way that they're supposed to.
No, they don't. They don't.
The,
Mm-mm.
you think you know and then you get sent for a loop, right? But one thing I
Yes.
do want to say is that I don't necessarily, from my personal opinion, I do not think that the stalker has any association with the workplace because if that was the case, then he would have already been running his little crazy mouth at work and we would have seen him already.
Yes,
He's
I
not,
agree.
and I don't think he was sent by Taehee, because we already saw Taehee acting like he was a street team for an entertainment company in the most ineffective way possible, looking trying to find out what his brother was up to. So I don't think that he was sent particularly by Taehee because that's he was trying to use the discreet model to. You don't go and approach the girlfriend right away unless you want your brother to kill you. I think he has some
Exactly.
awareness that Taeha would rip his mouth off of his face if he were to approach, right? Um, it's up in the air that he has any association with Teju, but I don't think that he does because Teju is actually smart and he already knows who Na Hae So is. I do think
Yeah.
that the guy is a random stalker. I mean, she works at a storefront. Like she's very visible. There's glass, so like
I
you can
wonder
see her.
though, because he kind of reminds me of the guy that was with Taehee at the club, like when he was banging that chick, asking,
It's
you
not the
know,
same guy. It's not the
it
same guy.
it kind of reminded me of him.
I
Um,
mean, you know what the problem is with Gainem? Gainem has this tendency with like NPC characters to like show you their face, and if they don't have a critical timeline, it's nondescript faces. And I
Um,
posted in the chat in the channel, I posted a picture of the stalker, and then I posted a picture of his friend, and they don't have the same face shape or the same eyes. 'Cause I thought the same
mm,
thing initially. I thought the same thing, and I could still be proven wrong. He kind of looks like the one of the hotel staff, but the eyes are different.
I
So
remember
I was
which
just like,
chapter that was because it's bothering me now.
um, gosh, I went and I grabbed the chapter and I have the screenshot of the friend because I had to grab it. I had to because at first I thought like, yo, is that the friend? And I went and I looked at the pictures. Like I manically went and looked at the pictures in the detail, and it was not him. And I
Okay,
was like,
it was
okay,
just after the date, I think. I'm just gonna
yes.
satisfy my curiosity real quick. I'm
And you
sorry.
are absolutely allowed. You are allowed to pull receipts. I am not the one and only person, um, and I am not gay them, so I don't freaking know. But I
Nah,
just
you
gonna tell
good.
you, I'm
You
always gonna
good.
say my opinion, but
And
I'm not always correct.
maybe you're right. Maybe because I know sometimes when, like you said, when you're drawing like, NPCs for lack of better, hi taco. When you're drawing NPCs, like they can look similar. Oh, okay, yeah. That okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Listen, I was manic because I was like, who's this guy? I just think he is the embodiment of the danger that Na Hae Soo puts herself in on a regular basis, that she was
Mm-hmm.
protected from because Taeha was always omnipresent and behind her before he started working for Taeju. There is danger for Naiso because she is a pretty woman.
Yes, she
She
is.
works very late nights. She's always outside going from place to place. In her mind, like she never could you imagine? She used to walk up those flights of stairs and she would never even turn around. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
look at the skyline.
Nope.
Like the fact that Teha actually like stalking is bad. Okay, let's I'm gonna be realistic. Stalking is bad. It's inadvisable. You shouldn't do that. But the fact that Teha was around kept her safe.
Yes. Yes, very much so. I mean, and I also would like to add to that, like I feel like because of the jobs that she has had, like especially
Mm-hmm.
working like, third shift at like a convenience store, like that is some I mean, you get some crazy shit, man. I mean, my
Absolutely.
husband used to work third shift at Kinko's in Fort Lauderdale, and he's seen some shit. Like actually, like I worked at Kinko's and I have a story about a naked woman running around in our store. And it wasn't even at night. This was like during the daytime,
Of course, in
so
Florida.
I mean, yeah, Florida man, but she was I think she must have been on some kind of drugs or something.
Yeah,
She did not look the
yeah,
healthiest, we'll just say that. Um
absolutely.
but anyways, but yeah, like when you work third shift, I mean, you get some crazy shit. And I feel like, because of her background, she knows how to manage like crazy ass people to a degree. And I feel like she's also got some street smarts, because I mean,
Yes.
you can't be living in a part of town that's a little questionable, shall we say,
Yes, the
and
slums,
not
as DJ says.
yeah, I say questionable. I'm trying to be polite.
I was
Uh,
just quoting Lee J. He said the slums. He said the ghetto
Lee J. I love Lee J. He's my
with a
dude.
skeptic. Yes, he's a voice of skepticism and
Yeah, I
I
just
need to
love
know where
Lee
the hell
J.
he is.
I
Yes.
want him to show up soon, man. I really do. And I'm not, saying for smut reasons. I just really like his character.
I
Like
do. He's a voice
I
of reason, even when it's unreasonable what he thinks, because he doesn't know the intimate relationship that Teha has with Nae. So he is the voice of reason. He's kind of like the voice of the audience, but he's just like you could get in trouble. He's a harbinger of doom, and he
mhm.
has. It's necessary because Teha is still for all of the intuition the like instinct that he has, the intelligence that he has, the emotional awareness that he has, he's still inexperienced.
Yes, he really is. I honestly, I think that, that's what Taeha needs. I think he needs someone that's not going to be a yes man. I think he needs
Right.
someone, that is going to be able to like tell him how it is. He definitely, to me, kind of like whenever I see interactions with him, I kind of always get like big brother vibes
Oh
almost,
yes.
like I mean, not that I think they're like BFFs or anything, but I get more of like a big brother, like, hey, I have a little more knowledge in the world than what you do, so let me slap you with some knowledge bombs, like that's how it comes across to me. He's just,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it's a job, but he's still got to look out for him. I mean, if something happens, then he's probably not going to be alive. I mean,
Exactly.
chairmen don't play. You know,
And just
I
Taylor,
mean,
I think he may have a little bit mercy, but Teja doesn't strike me as someone who's as merciful as he seems. Um, he's Lee. I love Lee J as well. He's a voice of reason. He's a necessary component in Teja's life because he actually
yes,
will. He's not afraid to speak his mind, and he
mm-mm,
does. He's aware that he's towing a line, but he does it anyway because it's like, all right, man, this is a little crazy. I'll
yep,
do this for the money, but I need to let you make you aware that this is kind of nuts.
yep,
But all right, if you like it, I love it. This is a job. And then he goes
yep,
and he actually has real conversations with them because he's always observing Teha with the sense of curiosity. He's trying to understand, and he actually observes him with the sense of empathy because he sees, the gap
yeah, like what he's
between him
going
and
through
others.
too.
Like I like that about him, that he has a genuine concern, and it goes beyond just like, oh, this is just a job. He actually treats him in a better fashion, and I know it's because initially it's because this is a job and he's getting paid, but he treats him in a better fashion than the friends from the high school squad did,
Mm-hmm.
because they talk about him in the most awful way when his back is turned,
Yeah,
out
they
of
do.
envy and spite, like, and they try to take he's only letting them as close as he wants them to be. I know that about Tia. Never really tells them what he's doing. He's that stoic mask of pleasantness, but he's also strange. And people know him, but they don't know enough about him to be able to say. But they used to talk about him wildly. Oh, he's got all the girls be paying attention to him. I bet he's, banging this one and banging that one. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and Dohei, you don't need to be paying attention to what he's doing, because if he was fucking right in the middle of the room, you shouldn't be. You should go ahead and eat your food. Like, a little wild. They're a little wild in the way that they talk about him.
Yeah, it is. I mean that just kind of goes to show you that, like, with he's being, how do I want to put it? I kind of feel like Taeha is one of those that doesn't want the attention that he's getting. He just
Right.
wants to live his life. He just wants to have, like a quiet life with his woman, without people like fawning all over him. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the vibe that I get from like Taeha. Like he
Mhm.
just wants to live his life. He wants to have, just wants to enjoy what he has, and I feel like people make that harder than what it should be, because I mean, if you really look at a lot of like Korean media, and I'm kind of just basing this off of my personal observations here, with the way that they portray like people that are good looking, like even in like K dramas, um, it just seems like, people that are good looking, they have it worse because they are always at the center of attention. And not
Yep.
only that, but because of how good they look, people feel like people feel entitled to be able to be with them. They feel like,
Yep.
how do I put it? because they look the way that they do, they feel like entitled to be in that person's orbit. Maybe that's
Absolutely.
yeah.
To be
And thank
close,
you.
they
I
feel a
was trying to figure
desire
out the
and
best
kind
way
of, yeah.
to say that. What was that? I'm
It's
sorry.
true. I was saying that they feel and they want to be in a space. They feel entitled to be in their space because of association. And people gravitate towards them, but they don't know how to keep their distance. Like touching him
Exactly.
without consent.
Exactly.
This even
Exactly.
Dohei G, like he's like, oh, she has my number. He comes to him, sits beside him, takes his headphones out of his ear, puts it in, like not he's like, I'm gonna let this pass. I'm gonna let this pass. But then when her behavior was jeopardizing the progression of his romance with Na Hae Soo, he put a kibosh on it. He's like, no, please don't call
Thank you
me
for
anymore.
joining us, Nettie. I'm sorry we kept you up so late.
Natty,
We're so glad you joined
no.
us, though.
Don't leave, Nettie. You're saying so many things that I'm reading. I'm kidding. You have to sleep eventually. It is 4 a.m. I have enjoyed your input because all of it's valid and true
Mm-hmm.
and enjoyable. I look forward to the next time you join.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Um,
Thank you so
th-
much for contributing.
oh, definitely. It's always good when we get like good conversations going on in here.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Listen, everybody gets an opportunity to like give input, and it's highly appreciated because
Mhm.
it's no. I mean, I could talk for days, but it's
Oh,
not as
same
much
here.
fun if we don't know what people feel in the room because then we want to know what you're curious about.
Yeah. I
I like
mean,
feedback.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like it when we're able to, have these conversations. Like sometimes I feel like I need to do this more often. But
I always
then,
enjoy talking to you, Auntie Laura. Like
oh,
I love the
definitely.
panel. It's one of my highlights. Like I rush home as quickly as possible, even though it's a Friday and it's usually like happy hour night and I have coworkers around me, like, let's go out to drink. I rush home because I actually really enjoy having these conversations and being a part of a community that allows me to um verbalize my passion for the story and like the complexities of it and the
Oh,
tie-ins
definitely.
with the trends and what's happening in the world because it's all really very relevant and very timely.
Yeah, it really
And that's
is. I mean, what my husband does now is every night he's like, "Is it a Discord night or a World of Warcraft night?"
I love that.
Yeah, because, hobbies. Um, so I have to make sure, like, at the beginning of the week, I hang out with him because I feel bad, sometimes, like, on, like, the weekends because of, like, other stuff. So I try to make sure that I, make time for him. Um, you
Absolutely.
know,
That's your boo.
so
That's the life partner over there. Absolutely. You better make time and space for the bay.
well, he's put up with me for like 20 years now. So I mean, not everybody can do that. I know I can. I'm not always the easiest person to get along with sometimes. So
And that's the beauty of marriage. It's a partnership
indeed,
that's a give and take, and it is work. Marriage is
it,
work.
it is.
If
It is,
friendship
but
is
it's
work,
worth it.
man,
I wouldn't
absolutely.
wouldn't have it any other way. But anyways, um,
Listen, he's got a dedication on this recording. You better know. You better play that for him.
well, I will. He always knows. I always tell him all the time, and he reminds me every day. So we're good about that kind of thing.
I love that for
We
you.
were, yeah, we were really good friends, and then we became more than that. So, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that happened, but in a nutshell, that's us. Um, I like that
Oh,
he doesn't think I'm weird for laughing at fart jokes. So, I mean, that's how you got like, a life partner.
Kim
um,
B's up in the chat. She says, "Friends to lovers." I love it.
yeah, pretty much. So, but
Oh, that's
anyways, I
the
know
best kind
y'all
of relationship.
didn't didn't come here to listen to my my love story, but But yeah, but I think we're probably well, I think we're probably needing to end the recording because it's been going for like since 8. So what we'll
Oh,
do is we'll end the recording, but we'll move it to the boardroom. So if we still want to chat, we do that a lot. Where we'll like finish here and then we'll just hang out in the boardroom. Yeah, it has been 2 hours actually. I mean, time
before we
flies.
go, I wanted to answer one more question because I saw that
Oh, sure,
Kim
sure,
put it.
sure.
It's about the debt, and I just wanted to address it because I think the debt is still there. I Taehee has mentioned the debt has grown and things of that nature, but I don't think he's talking about the literal debt. I was thinking about his debt in the give and take of the relationship that he had with Na Hae Soo. I do not think the debt is paid. I think that he and Lee Jae have been setting up the circumstances of moving that debt from being Na Hae Soo's responsibility to Mincheol's. So they got him to agree that he's going to be the ones that are going to take on the burden of the debt. I don't know if there's any, legalese behind this, if that's legal or not. I don't know if there's any paperwork or they have any ownership or power to move that over to him. But getting him to actually outright say that he was going to be responsible for seriously paying down that debt is something that will hopefully take some burden off of Na Hae Soo. But right now, as we know, the status of the debt is everybody seems to be paying, and I don't know how much the actual amount is. I do not think Taehee has paid it off. I don't think Taehee wants to pay it off. I think he
I
wants
don't think
men
so
to
either.
suffer
Yeah,
and can't pay it off.
I tend to agree with you on that point, and I also don't think that they've ever really like mentioned the amount of debt. I know, I mean, obviously, Jesus knows because one of the first things she asked when he told her, and I know that was kind of a point of contention with him, was how like when he told her, he was like, "Oh, she didn't even react. She just asked me how much it was." I mean, and honestly, like for somebody like her, who's used to having things go wrong, I mean, you can only get so much bad news when you just start getting used to it.
Yep.
Or at least that's in my humble opinion anyway. So to me, it made sense that she didn't have like that much of a reaction because I mean, what is it that you what can you really do? It's already been done. Freaking out
Yep.
is not going to do anything. It's
Nope.
not going to help your situation. It's not going to pay
No.
the debt. So why bother getting all worked up? And I
There's
think because of that, I think that's why he, started getting mad at her that she wouldn't react because she didn't react to the debt. And it's like, well, how should she act? Even if
you already
it's
made
like I said,
for her.
it's like if she cries, like what is that going to do for you? I
He
mean,
gets to see her cry. He has a little fetish with the crying, I suppose. So
I
getting her to
guess.
react, I don't really know what the rationale is about his like tying resentment to her lack of reaction. When I think that poor lady looked downtrodden and beaten when she asked him how
Yeah.
much the debt was. She was kind of probably mentally numb because she's just trying to get through it. Because I mean, of all the things, I know sometimes she doesn't react in a way that people think is the most mature. They're like, oh, nice, so this and that. She's not, she's not wishy washy or whatever she is.
Mhm.
But to be honest, when you're like, have become accustomed to receiving horrible news, there is only
Yep.
so much capacity that you have left to react. And at some point, you just like, I'm just going to have to take it because this is what it is. And now, what do I
Exactly.
do next? This is what it is.
Exactly.
It's tough. It's
Exactly.
burdensome. But how am I going to get out of this? Now she's probably thinking ahead. All right, well now I got to get 50, 11 jobs in order to be able to make sure that the debt collectors don't come back and whoop my ass again. Like those kinds of things
Mhm.
is what I'm pretty sure was flying through her head. And if she was to only shoulder the debt by herself, that would be implausible and unmanageable. So I'm pretty sure she thought that not Minchall was going to be at least helpful And this is where we stand now, where she's,
Yeah,
doing what she
exactly.
can. He
Yeah.
empowered her to actually not need him and him need her. And now he's resentful about the fact that she's doing the best she can to keep both of them afloat. Such a
Yeah, I
sucker.
just yeah, he's such a motherfucker. I mean, like there's only so much freaking out that you can do. And then,
No,
on top of that, just dealing with that kind of stuff on a regular basis. I mean, I can only imagine like how emotionally exhausting that might be. I mean, you just get to a point where you just have no more fucks to give. Like your field of fucks are
Absolutely.
barren. And, and you just can't grow any more fucks anymore because what's the point? I mean, I hate to put it that way, but I mean, here we are.
Right.
But I mean, it is what it is. And the fact that you get mad because she's not freaking out, I mean, that's a you problem, not a her problem. That's how I see that.
Absolutely.
That to me tells me that she's the more practical one in the relationship.
She
And,
always
and I
has
say
been.
this exactly. And I say this and not in a bad way, but I always kind of feel like, every couple, you have the one that wants to go and do and just like randomly go to Disney World. And then you have the one that's the more practical. It's like, well, we could go to Disney World, but we have X, Y, and Z to pay. So it's, and with a relationship like that, it's always like a balancing act. Like, you don't want to say no all the time because then the other person will resent you, but at the same time you have to be responsible. So what's the right path?
Right.
you
Well,
know
I mean, you can either dream with them and fly high and get, basically sold into sexual slavery and get beat up, or you could figure out a practical route. If
yep,
if
or learn how to
that
compromise.
match, yeah, you gotta find a but the thing about it is like she was already at the point of depression. I
Yeah,
don't know if the poor girl had a miscarriage at that point or not. We don't know. But what I
yeah,
do know is that she was did not look like in that moment in a state of being that particularly was present in her skin. That's all I
no,
can
I
say.
agree.
And
I
you have to
agree.
get to a place mentally to look that exhausted and sad without crying. Like you have to be a little bit numb. And like
Yeah,
you really have to have been hit hard to get to that place by life circumstances, whatever it is, trauma. There's no way like normal people react, and then some people just don't. And when they don't, there's a
hmm,
lot happening inside them. And she
yep.
represses a lot of things, and I get why she
Yeah,
did
she
it.
really does. Oh, I do too. I mean, and it's like what Kim I think was saying, like imagining all of your problems come crashing down on you. She would be so depressed, but she just shut off her emotions, to survive. She's in survival mode. Yeah, cuz I mean, the thing is that you can only take so many emotional blows at a time,
Absolutely.
and you just get to the point where it's like I said, you just have no more fucks to give. The field of
Yep.
fucks have run barren. I can't afford to buy any fucks, any more fucks right now.
The fucks
Like,
are low. They're low
yeah,
in supply.
exactly. Like, and
Out of stock.
I have had points in my life where I have been like that. Like I
Me
had
too.
something very big happen to me, something that I totally was not expecting, and in the span of like a conversation, my life changed, and not in the way I was expecting, and it
Right.
was very emotionally devastating to me, and it took me a very long time to get over this one particular thing. And I was at that point where I was just like, I just don't care, like I'm like, whatever happens happens. I freaked out, and then at some point I did come to the point where I could accept what was happening. It was actually a form of grief, ironically. But you just get to a point where you just don't care. Whatever happens happens. I just, you need time to let that energy you basically need to recharge your emotional batteries, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, once
And
the shock wears off, it's just like, okay, what do I do now? Like now it's time to like problem solve mode.
exactly, gotta work your way out of it to like figure out like how can I make the circumstances better, given that the circumstances are at the
They are the
lowest of the
shittiest that they've ever been. Yeah,
low.
I mean,
Absolutely.
because yeah, let's face it, she had a level of shitty that you know no human being should be experiencing for
Yeah,
lots of
the hits
reasons.
just kept on coming. The pits of hell. Well, the way that
Yeah.
Mincheol like describes it as like the sticky lowest of the low, and he thought he could sink any lower, but he can. And he's going to sink to the level that he brought Na Hae Soo to, the tar
Yep.
pits of despair. He
Mhm.
really did bring her very low. Not even her father brought her as low as that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like because Mincheol, I almost feel like Mincheol's the type that like can't let anybody be happy unless he's happy. And I think because she kind of had her shit together better than what he did, I think he kind of low key resented that.
Oh yeah.
Because when you see somebody doing better, and they're supposed to be at the same level as you, for lack of a better way to put it, I could easily see why somebody might be mad about that. And then I think, but I also think she resented him for just being a piece of shit that's being lazy. So, I mean,
But
no
she was still
wonder.
willing to feed him, to clothe
Oh,
him,
totally.
to make sure that he was happy, well fed, to check in. Out of all the things, the one thing she could not do is muster up the strength to allow him to thrust away at her whenever he
Yep.
felt like it, which is truly unfair because she really did continuously check out and check in for him at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And he would just throw his stuff on the ground and she would still just pick it up without complaint and help and do, because she wanted to continue to have a happy home. And the fact that
Yeah.
he took that for granted is such a sad thing, because that woman, despite being downtrodden, despite being tired, despite feeling the lowest of the low, she did her best to make sure that he was never at the level that she was.
Exactly. And what did he do? He cheated on her.
The minute he got a little bit of tension, he went and was like, well, I might as well, you know what? I'm gonna make her learn how much I'm important to her. Let me go get my dick wet. And I hate
Yep.
that for her, because I don't think there was one thing that has cropped up in this story that really says that Na Hae Soo, the woman that she is, deserved any of that. No woman does. And that
Nuh-uh.
is what pisses me off ultimately about this whole story. That the first thing, and this is a common thing, and I'm just, putting this out there, I've been told many times by people, including my grandmother, my aunts, the social media, when a man is down and out, leave that man alone, because the minute you try to pick him up, he will drag you with him and make it worse, because he's angry at himself and
Yeah.
he'll take you and use you as a conduit to 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 make himself feel better rather than doing what needs to be done to be better. And I was like, I hate
Yep.
to see that. And I hate that that's what it is, because community is very important to being able to pull each other up into the places that we need to be. But I've been
Oh,
told many
definitely.
times by many women, run. And she did not. And here we are.
Yep. Oh man, Mitchell's lucky that we're not there. I'm just saying.
I would have already set him aflame like a Salem witch.
Yeah, you ain't lying. All right. Well, we're
You want to
gonna
end it out on that note?
yeah, and then we can take this down to the boardroom.
I'm for it.
That way we can kind of conversate and like hang out. So I really want to say thank you all for like joining us. It's been a pleasure having y'all, and I mean, if you can believe it, we're almost to 900 people. So thank you guys for supporting us. So we'll do this again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We usually record this too, so that way it'll be available over the weekend for those that aren't able to join us. So thank you again for being with us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you all.